Well, good afternoon. Today's the big day for Kenya. We start running, and we've got quite a number of races we're in today. There's the 10,000 meter women's. We've got some heats for the 1,500 and the 3,000 as well. So we're very excited. Esther Koimet is with me, Investment Secretary, and we're going to be talking about Kenya and investment. Also with us, some gentlemen who are key to investments in Kenya as well, and they'll introduce themselves to us in just a moment, but I begin with Esther. So Esther, it's been a serious government effort here in London. We saw the diaspora conference and government really responding to issues being raised by Kenyans living abroad and saying, invest in your country, both in terms of cash, economically, and also social investment, And then there was, of course, the investment conference where big business was represented and was being given confidence that Kenya is the place. And in fact, East Africa also was being discussed, is the place to put your money, Kenya being an excellent gateway into the region. Esther, what's your assessment of how much we've achieved here so far? And is this a viable message with elections coming up?
Julie, thank you very much for having us here. It's a great pleasure. I think being here, this whole idea of the Kenya House, the whole idea of us being here alongside the Olympics, our president leading us, I think was a great idea. One, I think we needed to show that Kenya is a great nation athletically, but also that we have a lot to offer. We needed to speak to our own people in the diaspora, and we've done a number of these diaspora conferences over the years. We've been here actually separately. We've been to the US, we've been to Europe. So we do communicate with our diaspora and just to bring them up to speed in terms of what opportunities exist in the country and so on. But I think this particular time was also important because it coincided obviously with the Olympics. Right. And it was also good to start with the diaspora conference, to start with our own people, and then on Tuesday to do the investment summit, at which the president was present, and at which, as you say, there was big business. And I think we got an opportunity there to really tell the Kenyan story, especially in terms of Vision 2030. And you will have noticed that everything was crafted around the Vision 2030, the projects that were showcased. And all the speeches were really about supporting the development under the vision. And it is important because it is what galvanizes us even as we head to elections, so that even as we have a change of government, the political leadership that comes in after next year's elections knows that there is a developmental agenda for the country that we all agreed to and that we need to take forward to 2030. So it's not a 5-year plan that they just come, for the term that they're in Parliament, but they have to ensure that they do their bit, and the people who come after them will do their bit. So I think it's been very useful. The roundtables I've found have been very useful. So, yeah.
The reception we're getting from people who've taken part from this side is that it's very informative, and they are growing confidence in Kenya and their ability to transition in a positive way. Let's just talk about that for a minute. I mean, your job in government must involve quite a bit of juggling in terms of the different parties, because we have a coalition government in place, so we have ministers from various different parties. Do you believe that our politicians will transition smoothly? Do you believe they're ready to buy, and that they do buy this vision? Because what we do need is a smooth election to propel the country forward in terms of development.
Julie, I believe we'll have a smooth transition. I think we learned from a moment of madness in 2008, and I think we will transition smoothly. In terms of the government as is today as a coalition government, we have found, working with both sides of the coalition, that in terms of the development agenda, there is no difference, and everybody is pulling towards the same direction. And I think it was very clever of the principals to ensure that in every ministry you have, either the minister is from one side and the assistant minister is from the other side, or vice versa. So you have in each ministry, politicians from both parties, and I think it's been very useful in terms of ensuring that government gels and government works together.
Right, and there is cohesion.
There is cohesion, and I find also that for example, the cabinet committees under the Prime Minister are very useful forum for discussing these developmental issues in a more detailed way, and where they can also get technical people to come over and explain, or at least answer any issues that need to be answered on a more detailed level. So I have found that I think in terms of development, we are moving forward together as a country.
It's fantastic to hear that it doesn't matter what party we have bought into the vision and we're moving forward. That's a very positive message. Gentlemen, let me bring you in here. And each of you have come from a key organization with a critical message. Perhaps let me start with Paul on one end. Tell us what's the message from the Capital Markets Authority.
I don't know if can you hear us now? Okay, great.
Yeah, you
okay.
Do it yourself as well, and tell people what you're here, what message you're here to bring.
Thanks a lot, Julie. I'm Paul Muthaura, the acting chief executive of the Capital Markets Authority in Kenya, and it's really what we're here to do is really ensure that the message comes out that we have markets that can really bring together and raise the kind of capital necessary to deliver the vision. I think there's very strong support across all arms of government that we all have to play our critical role in ensuring that the vision is delivered. The ambitions of the people of Kenya have to be achieved, and we just need to internalize where we fit in. A great percentage of our presentations this week have been focusing on key projects, especially in infrastructure, that need to be delivered. And we see ourselves as the capital markets as really the critical conduit for that financing to those projects. We see ourselves as a tool for raising, as well as a channel for passing capital that may be raised elsewhere, but can pass through different institutions or structures established through the capital markets to really make sure it lands in the hands necessary to put in place the necessary infrastructure and deliver this vision.
Thanks for that. I'll come back to you in just a moment, Paul. Let me come
Sure.
to right next to you. Julius, tell us about your organization and the message that you've come here with, please.
Thank you very much, Julie. I think as I've said earlier, Kenya Investment Authority is responsible for promoting Kenya as a preferred destination for investments. And this week what has been happening is promoting investments that are looking at creating competitiveness for the country. Because for any business to locate in Kenya, their worry is the cost of doing business. And the investments that we've been promoting this week are now laying the foundation for a competitive economy, which now will continue to position Kenya as a hub economy, or as a link where now we can serve the entire of the East Africa market as well as the COMESA. So for us, our message is now to companies that are looking for markets opportunities, companies that want to serve the Kenyan economy or the Kenyan market, is that now the foundation has been set for them to operate profitably, and Kenya is the place to be in, because if you are looking for Africa, if you're looking for the Middle East market, then Kenya is the place to be. Thank you.
Kenya is well placed.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I'll come back to you as well in just a moment.
Thank you.
Julius Korir there. And next to Julius is Peter Mwangi from the Securities Exchange. Tell us what your message is here in London.
Thanks, Julie. The message from the exchange is that the Nairobi market has come of age. We have seen a lot of international investor interest, and we wanted to showcase the opportunities that still exist in our market to attract increasing flows, not just to Nairobi, but also to the East African region. We want to position ourselves as being the gateway to the whole East African region, and I think this story to investors is a compelling one, and we want to see them increasingly invest. As you know, foreign participation in our market is now around 45%, So a lot of investor interest from global investors, and that's what we were very keen to build on.
Let's talk about what we need from government and for private sector to continue thriving, and I think it has been, really growing in leaps and bounds. But really, can we achieve double-digit economic growth in Kenya, and what do we need in order to get there? And Esther is here, so if you have a question or a comment for her, you could include that in your thoughts. Let's start. Let's continue with Peter and go back to Julius and Paul.
Well, I think the role of government is critical, and there are three or so areas that I can think of. The first one is to create a conducive environment for businesses to thrive, and I think the government has made a lot of progress in that area in terms of having regulatory certainty and so on and so forth. The second area is to invest in infrastructure, which will then allow the private businesses to just plug in and play. So the investments in roads, in energy, in water, and so forth. And I think a lot of the projects that are being showcased here in London as being investor ready under the Vision 2030 are exactly in those critical areas. And the third thing that can be done is to give incentives that actually attract investment flows, both foreign direct investment as well as portfolio flows into our markets, because incentives make a difference. We are competing with other investment destinations, and for us to be more attractive than others, I think the more incentives we have, the better. We currently have very good incentives in the capital markets. For example, there's no capital gains tax, and so on and so forth. More can be done. We have a fairly competitive package, but I think it is something that we need to build on as a country.
Thank you. Julius, your thoughts?
Okay. I think for me, I'm on the side of government, and maybe what I'll do is to say exactly what is available for investors out there. Kenya Investment Authority was set up with the purpose of facilitating investments. So we are there to help investors realize their goals, and we provide assistance in terms of when they want to register, when they want to access incentives, when they want to access permits and approvals. We will help them to be able to access them within the shortest time possible, because most of the challenges that investors have when they go to a country is they don't know which office to go to, they don't know who to talk to, and
bureaucracy, the red tape.
Yeah. Yes. All that. So come.
Making it easier for people to set up.
Yeah. So we provide a one-stop shop service for investors, and so any investor who has a project, when they come to us, I think their work will be over. We'll be able now to take over from there, advise them, provide them information. Then once they have also set up, we also give them what we call aftercare services. This is where we visit them at their premises, see how they are going on with their project, what challenges they are faced with, and if they require any government assistance, we will link them to the relevant government authorities. The other things also, and I know Esther will also maybe add on this, is the reforms that are going on in the country. Like now the reduction of the permits and licenses. We've reduced from over 1,000 to now we are slightly over 300. And we are still coming down. We have the business regulatory reform bill, which is in the draft stages, and the purpose of that is to harmonize the licensing regime in the country, because in the past there are quite a number of agencies that are using the licenses as a revenue base or a revenue source, but now this bill will seek to harmonize. Before any agency comes up with a bill or a license and a fee, they will have to be approved through that regulatory environment. So there are quite a number of reforms that are going on, and all are aimed at improving the business environment and investment climate in the country, so that when investors, again, this fits into now our vision of making Kenya the preferred investment destination in Africa. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Paul. Let me come to you.
Hi, thanks, Julie. I think as the Capital Markets Authority, we're extremely conscious what our challenge is how do you encourage capital flows to a jurisdiction? And that always comes down to the transparency of that market, the orderliness, the effectiveness, efficiency of that market. And that's where we really seek to support the government in implementing its developmental initiatives. We are working very actively, engaging with stakeholders to make sure that any legal frameworks are as fit for purpose as possible. And that involves not just writing laws in-house, but doing very extensive consultation with your stakeholders to understand what they need, what they expect, what the actual market need is to ensure that it's informing the laws you're developing. It's working with our institutions like the exchange, supporting them in infrastructure development to make sure that our markets are as efficient as possible, that transactions are able to be processed as fast and as smoothly as is efficient. We continue to work with our licensed intermediaries to make sure that everyone can be confident and can have the right level of trust in all the licensed intermediaries they deal with, and making sure that all their structures are sufficient to deal with any risk areas, as well as to tackle, some of the new issues in systemic stability and market infrastructure that you see coming out following the global financial crisis. So it's a constant, I think we realize it's a constant process of engagement and discussion to make sure that whatever we're putting out there makes the Kenyan market as transparent, efficient, and orderly as possible, so that funds will very happily move there. At the end of the day, we're conscious, we're competing. We're competing for money, so we have to make our destination as attractive as possible.
Thanks for that. What's so interesting, everyone, Esther, is that 6 months to an election. I've never sat in a session like this and not had everybody referring to their concerns about it. But as you said, it looks like people, even the business world, at least who are here, are fairly confident that we're going to get through this transition well. Let me bring it back to you as we wind up, and I'll get a final statement from everybody. What would you say to both local and international investors are the key reasons to bring their money into Kenya?
I think the key reasons for bringing investments to Kenya, for choosing Kenya as an investment destination, is one, we have a stable macroeconomic environment, and we will continue to keep the macroeconomic environment stable. We target inflation at 5%, and we're working to ensure, the central bank is working very hard to ensure that. In our fiscal regime, we are ensuring fiscal responsibility even as we head into the elections and as we head into the devolution process and so on. We have, as the gentlemen have said, a good investment climate. We have invested heavily in infrastructure, and you will have seen a lot of the infrastructural projects. We've also put in place the regulatory environments, the policy environment to ensure that investments can take place in a transparent and clear environment. A lot of reform has gone into key areas like the lands reform, all this computerization in the lands registry, for example, computerization in the company registry. So there is a lot of reform that has happened, and this is intended to help, first of all, bring efficiency in the way these things are run. So if you want to make transactions with the land, it's easy because it's computerized. The judicial reforms that are taking place.
Perhaps above all, knowing that you have a legal system that you can rely on.
Yeah,
right.
The judicial reforms that are taking place are key because investors want to come into a place where, if there are, for example, disputes and things like that, they can be resolved quickly. And we are looking at proper dispute resolution mechanisms, legal processes that clear the court processes fairly fast. So Kenya is the place to invest. There are great investment opportunities, and we are in fact in the process of putting in place a PPP framework. We have already got a policy that has been done, because we realize that a lot of the resources that need to be raised for infrastructure will perhaps come through public-private partnership, and we want to clarify the investment space for public-private partnership. We have a law that is currently in Parliament. We have created a PPP unit within the Ministry of Finance to ensure that they create the capacity, because we also need a lot of capacity within the country in terms of negotiating these complex transactions. So yes, Kenya is ready. We are the gateway to Africa. As my friend Dr. Bitangendemo says, if you close your eyes and put your hand on your heart, that is Kenya. If you think about the map of Africa, that is so we are in the heart of Africa. We are a gateway to the East African community. Our own businesses, if you look at them, are really investors in the region. So even our own local investors have shown the way in terms of the fact that there is a big market out there,
Right.
and there is opportunity to expand into the region. And the rest of the world is saying that the future belongs to Africa. So the best place to position yourself is in the gateway to Africa.
It's in the heart.
It's
in the heart of Africa. Here. Gentlemen, very quickly.
And then put her back on. That's okay? Put her back on now.
We are not hearing.
Switch back to her. Switch back to her, yeah.
Are we together?
Yes, now we are. Now we are.
Great. Punchy, short and punchy, 2 reasons why Kenya is the right destination for investors' money.
Well, 2 quick reasons. On top of everything else that Esther has said, which I totally agree with. First of all, going into an election year, political risk is something that people pay attention to. In my own view, there's no doubt about it. The rules of the game have changed. The constitutional reforms, electoral reforms, judicial reforms, the whole package adds up to an entirely new field of play. To put it starkly, if the last elections had taken place under the current rules, there'd have been no problem. And therefore, in my view, the political risk, the real political risk is significantly reduced. Secondly, it's an exciting time for our economies. With all the natural resource finds that have been made in the last 12 months, I think it's clear East Africa is the place to be, and Kenya is your gateway to that East African region.
Thank you, Julia.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think for me, Kenya is a place to be because of the increasing middle income group. These are the people with money. These are the people who can spend. And locating your business in Kenya, you can tap into this population that comprise of over 40% of our population. And the same statistics applies in the East.
Over 40%, you say?
Yes. Yes. It's a huge pool that an investor can tap in. Then the other thing is that Kenya is the pace setter when it comes to economic trends and developments within the region. So any investor would want to be in such a place so as to be able now to spread to the other parts of the continent. So for me, Kenya is the place to be in now. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
I think the key thing to realize is when you talk Kenya, you're actually talking about the East African community. We are the main port of conduit for all things, be it trade, finance, professional services, human resources for the whole region. So when you look at Kenya, you are not looking at 38 million people, you're actually looking at 140 million people. When you look at Kenya, you're not looking at the resources of that one country. You're looking at resources that expand as far as Southern Sudan and DR Congo. So Kenya truly is the right place to establish, to operate, to conduct all your business, because it automatically links you in to the upcoming monetary union that's going to be in place for the East African community. And it really sets the tone, it sets the trend. What happens in Kenya will eventually happen in our neighboring countries. We work very closely with them. We have excellent cooperation and coordination. So Kenya truly is the place to conduct all your East African business through. Thank you.
Thank you so much, gentlemen, and thank you very much, Esther. And I think the message is here. This is what we're trying to do here in London, is to communicate what Kenya is, what Kenya stands for today, but also what Kenya is building towards in the future, and to see which players can come on board and are willing to come on board and be partners in this journey. But the most important partners are you and I, the citizens of Kenya, making the ultimate decision that it is Kenya first, Kenya Kwanza, and everything else follows. So if we can do that, we will be well. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Julie.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Gentlemen, I salute you. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure. And if you've been watching, it's been an absolute pleasure. More for you in the days to come. But of course, the athletics action. So let's all get back to take a look at what's going on the track.
Thank you.
Thank you.